At KSMO Radio. I had to wait for the stream. It's that time.
Sometimes we just got to do that.
Sometimes we have to wait. Yes, sometimes we are waiting on machinery all the time. Anyway, it is our Thursday after our Salem Memorial Hospital board meeting. And we have interim CEO Mr. Jason Edwards in a different position. And very good to have you here. And congratulations, number one, on that.
Thank you. Thank you, being an interim CEO and dietitian and a little closer.
I know you're really
Well,
I know you're used to this.
Yeah.
You're relaxed. Most of the other people are like sitting up there,
Up
clenched
there,
fist.
up close, holding on to the mic.
Not quite that much, but they're kind of holding on to the dear life.
Yeah, pouring sweat. No, it's it's just, and it's like I said, with coming on and asked to take on this role, and I've been a Salem Hospital employee for 20 years, and I'm embedded in it. This is my home, and this is my community, this is my family. So, to be an honor to step into this role and just work forward for the hospital and, take care of my people, my family, my staff, my patients. It's an honor. It's a difficult task, but, if you look at the ultimate goal of making sure that the hospital thrives, that's where we're headed, and that's what I want to be, and that's my goal, and that's what we're going to do as a family together.
It's always interesting, and it's always difficult to make changes. We all know that. Mm-hmm. But it's always interesting is how you come out of those changes. And we all know RHD came in, they did a great job in getting the hospital back on its feet in a relatively very short period of time. They didn't have much time to play with. But there comes a time when another change is needed. They were only temporary here anyway. They were just a management company.
Correct.
So it was a matter of time when the change needed to be made. The hospital made the change on their August 1st meeting, and actually RHG made a change as they gave their 30-day letter.
Correct.
Okay, so the hospital at that point has to make you got to make some really quick decisions. A lot of decisions put on the board, a lot of decisions put on the staff as well, like what happened.
Right, and and you hit the nail on the head. Whenever that instant change occurs, there are so many processes in place that you have to start thinking, where do I go from here? Those balls are rolling, so it's 24/7 moving. Okay, where do we go from here? This, and this. You got multiple fires going, and we're quenching those fires. So that's a good feeling to have.
And I don't think a lot of people, you realize like 8 to 5 jobs, you got time to restock the shelves after hours.
Yeah.
Hospital doesn't have that 8 to 5 hours. It's kind of like 24 hours, 366.
Yeah.
Coming
7
up next
days
year.
a week.
I mean, it's 8 days a week next week,
Yeah.
next year. But you know what I'm saying? It is a process that people may not even truly understand, Jason, because you always have things going on at the hospital. You and dietitians, there's meals being prepared. There's emergencies coming in 24 hours a day. There's patient care, and nighttime nurses have to check on patients to make sure they're getting their vitals. And sometimes that might be 3 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely. Patient care never stops, and that's what's so important about this community and this hospital. This has to go and proceed, and we have to thrive for our people, and we will. And it's just like we had right in the middle of all this process of the transition, you have our state survey show up for our long-term care. It's just an annual survey,
right?
But it's like throw another fire right in the mix. But
on
you know
a Sunday,
on a Sunday, and but we had a great group of people just come together and move forward. We got through that process with gleam. So it was great. There was a few things here and there, but
there
there
always
always
they're
is.
going to find something.
Right. So, but it's just a great thing to watch when people come together for the ultimate goal.
And that's that. The idea is we need our hospital.
Absolutely.
And like you said, it's always been, when I ever went to the hospital, a family type atmosphere.
Absolutely.
And I appreciated you continuing to say that at the board meeting. Not just when they kind of introduced you as the interim CEO, but also throughout the meeting when you're talking about we need to do this and this and this. We need to get that family feel back.
Exactly.
Because when everybody buys into what the hospital is doing, that means staff, that means doctors, that means administration, everybody, things go so much smoother.
Absolutely. It's a round table. And I think I said this at the board meeting that it's we're brothers and sisters ultimately working together, and brothers and sisters don't always get along. I know I don't with my brother a lot of times, but
Who can get along with your brother anyway?
But
I hope he's listening too.
I know. But the ultimate goal is we all have the same end goal, to take care of people, take care of the community, because our community is our family. We are taking care of family. Sure. It's family taking care of family. So when you ultimately, at the end of the day, have that driven goal together, you can't go wrong.
Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
And I know the process is it's only been 3 weeks.
It feels like 3 years. No.
Well, I'm sure you're putting in the hours, because every time you turn around, I'm sure there's something new being, oh, by the way, we have to have this done by this date, and we have to have this done by this date. There's always deadlines to be met and to be reached, and you have a few of those that you already know about, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot more before it's all said and done. Plus, your audit comes up here soon.
Yes.
It's a month away.
Yeah. So, and that's when I'm talking, those processes in place, and with minimal to no transition period, you have to go in diving. So when an 8-hour day will turn into a 16-hour day, just because you have to get these things done.
Sure.
And that's kind of what's happened in the last 3 weeks, which is fine, because its ultimate goal is for the hospital to get it done.
But the current administration did sign an agreement to help with RHG to kind of make this process a little smoother.
Yes, for
on
the
August
revenue
for
cycle.
23rd. So I mean, it's not like they're gone. You'll never see them again. This process is going to be transitional.
Yes. So, we did sign an agreement with RHG and a different agreement for our billing and revenue cycle, just because they were so embedded into the processes, and it's hard to just take that out and start, because balls will drop at that point.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Because we don't need any issues with statements or any problems there. So it was imperative that we do something in that. And then we're just going to move forward from that point. We're going to get some training and go forward and make sure we're fully staffed, embed that in SMDH to where we can move forward and be the ultimate goal of taking care of people again.
Yeah. And billing is always the hardest thing, because you're fighting with insurance companies all the time. Yes. You're fighting with Medicare all the time. You're fighting with Medicaid all the time. I mean, I know individuals get frustrated doing it, and I can't imagine the contracts that the hospital have to do to go fight with United Healthcare, to go fight with, Blue Cross Blue Shield. I mean, you're getting pennies on the dollar.
Yes.
You really are.
And it's not like when you do all your internal processes, it's not like, the next day that money comes to the hospital or those funds. No, you're talking
60
months,
to 90 days.
Months
would
down
be
the
early.
road. Yes.
With an insurance company, they don't want to pay.
Yeah.
You don't pay your premium within 30 days. They give you a 30-day grace.
Right.
Well, trust me, the hospital may get their money within 90 to 180 days.
Yeah.
And they think that,
and that's good.
Yeah, and insurance companies think that that's okay.
Well, I mean, and I understand. I mean, who wouldn't want to hold on to cash as long as you can? But
no, I get that too. But things when you owe the money.
Yes.
If somebody has gone through the process and you owe them the money, you don't get, I mean, okay, I get if there's a question on a bill. Yeah. No problem. To get that done right. You don't want to be overbilled. You don't want to be underbilled.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, when those insurance companies put their stamp of approval on a prearranged service, why is there a holdup?
Yep. Good question.
Okay, well then we'll just leave now. But I mean, that's one of the things that I don't understand.
Right.
They prearrange, they pre-approve these things, and then it seems like you're fighting them after the fact.
Right.
I had a colonoscopy, got pre-approved, and then when I got the bill, I had to pay for it. They wanted me to pay for it myself. What?
Yeah. It seems like it's a constant battle.
Well, yeah. Well, we didn't. We pre-approved it here, not here. I thought, it's a colonoscopy. It's the same thing.
Right.
Doesn't make any difference where it is. Actually, it was cheaper where I went to get it than what you guys want me to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I mean, I get you. So anyway, well, again, for the third time, congratulations.
Thank you.
I know you do a tremendous job. One of the things I've always known about you, whatever you've done, whether it be sports or anything else, is passion. You have a passion, and once that passion takes over your soul, you don't let go.
And that's I don't know if that's a a good or a downfall.
Well, it could be good either way,
Yeah.
But I know that you have a real true love for what you do,
Right.
and I think that's going to show through, and I think it's going to work very well out there at the hospital and get the people on board. So again, good luck to you on that.
Thank you.
It's never easy.
No,
Never
but
easy.
well, you know what? I've been saying this a lot lately, and it's one team, one fight, one family, all together. Takes us all, and it not just takes just the hospital family, but it takes the community family
Well,
too.
absolutely.
So, and that's what I say when I say one team, one fight, one family. It's all of us, this whole community.
Well, and our hospital is part of our community, and let's remind people, we have a football game coming up Friday night, and it's going to be extraordinarily warm still. It just is. I mean, it may not be 100 degrees outside, but it's going to feel very sticky.
Yes,
It's going to be very tight. And our hospital will have an ambulance out there, which they have done ever since I have been here. And sometimes they've had 2 ambulances out
Right.
there. And the thing is, that service, that's part of what the hospital has been to our community. We have a rodeo coming up Labor Day weekend. Guess what? There'll be a hospital ambulance out there in case somebody's hurt.
Right. Family taking care of family.
It's family taking care of family. That family is the hospital family taking care of the community family.
Yep.
It's part of what our hospital is to this community. And any of those kind of events like that, you're going to see the presence of the Salem Memorial Hospital out there. There's going to be somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate goal of what we're here to do.
Yeah, well, and it's appreciated. Trust me, I don't think that's ever said thank you very, very much, but it should be. A lot of people should appreciate that. I know I appreciate that when I had my incident over at the high school. That ambulance crew was over there in no time.
Right.
It got me to the hospital, and they wouldn't let me come back for a while. I don't know. Someone might be passing out or some crazy thing like that. COVID, I think it was part of the deal.
Oh, yeah. That nasty word.
Yeah. Well, that nasty word will come back up here in a little bit, but we'll
Yeah.
talk about it. But first, we got a tax rate hearing. This is
Yes.
important. Tax rate is set hospital district, and for those familiar listening in or tuning in for the first time or even streaming with us for the first time, the Salem Memorial Hospital District Hospital is not just Dent County. And I think so many people think, well, all you got to do is cover this county. Well, we have no hospital in Ellington anymore. So actually, even though the district boundary ends over there in Iron and Reynolds County, you guys actually have gone further to treat people because there is nothing there.
Right. And that extends off into, the Dent, Crawford, and Iron, and Shannon County is our full district.
And that's where you're getting your tax money from.
Yes. So, to be able to take care of those residents in those areas as well, not just Dent County. It actually branches past that because people will come to get our health care in this community, and that's what we want to provide. And just to be able to have that service has to go on,
Right.
And that's ultimately the goal of, when you reach out past people, and there's other. Don't get me wrong, rural health is getting difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Rural health care and these other rural critical access hospitals. I saw an article in the paper where there's several hospitals that are having difficulty, and even closures or bankruptcies, and for Salem Hospital to still be where they're at, that's an ultimate goal to be proud of. So we have to push forward beyond those boundaries. We can't stop because communities like ours need this. We can't lose it.
Well, and you know as well as I do, Jason, last March, Salem was on that list.
Right.
They were number 9 on that list last March, and that was not good.
Right.
And of course, that has stabilized now, and that they're no longer number 9.
Right.
They've gone way back up the list. But you're still a critical access hospital. It still relies on your community.
Yes.
And that's the big thing. So Shannon, Dent, Crawford, Iron County all have interest in the district hospital, and they're all represented, by the way, in the district hospital through the 6 districts that the hospital has. And some, at one time, it was actually brought up to remove those districts and just have 6 directors, and the process of that means you have to go to every one of those commissions, and they have to approve doing this. And
That's a large process.
it's a large process, and it can be a costly one because that has to be done during an election.
Right.
And for the little bit of parts of the counties you're in, not all that much in Shannon County. You are a little bit, but Crawford County a little bit. More in the Iron County than the Viburnum area, but you still, those areas should be represented. And I think the idea was to make sure you had 6 directors, because sometimes it's very hard to get somebody from those areas to serve in those capacities. So, but overall, $285,500,000 approximately is the base. The 24 cents per $100 assessed valuation. It's been the rate for the hospital for now 4 years.
Right.
And that's maxed out.
Right.
Correct. So the hospital could elect to take a lower base. If they do, they cannot raise it for the next 2 years after that without going through a whole big public hearing. It's
Yeah, so just to kind of keep it status quo, I mean, that's the ultimate going from there, moving forward.
Very good. All right, so that was the 24 cents per $100 assessed valuation was passed through a resolution of the board that generated about $685,000. And the hospital says thank you, but that's paid on your personal property and your real estate taxes come next year.
And we appreciate every bit, and that's when it comes to taking care of the community and going forward. And we, business as usual.
Business as usual. You sound like a guy who's an administrator.
Yeah. Well, I say that and reluctantly, but I always I'm always focused on clinic because I was clinical.
Well, sure.
I do have the business background, but me, it's always people taking care of people, and those processes, when they're embedded and they're taken care of, that will take care of itself. Sure. But when we are there to take care of people, that's the ultimate goal. The more people we take care of, that means ultimately, I used to say we're in business to put ourselves out of business, because if everybody's healthy, you don't need health care, but that's not realistic. So.
That sounds like an economist making an assumption. There's only 2 widgets in the whole world. What?
Right.
Yeah.
But, just to be able to continually take care of people, and the more people we can take care of, the better.
Well, very good. But the hospital business is a different type of business. It's not for profit.
Right.
And I think a lot of people say, well, if it's not for profit, they're not supposed to make money. Well, you have to make money. It's just they're not trying to just make a profit. There's a lot of for-profit hospitals out there.
Absolutely.
A bunch of them. You'll find a bunch of them in St. Louis, Kansas City, even Columbia. You'll find these for-profit hospitals, and that is all for profit. You talk about family. They don't care if you're family. Yeah. They don't want to treat you as family. They want you in, out, turn those beds over to make another dollar.
Exactly. So when you walk down, 9 chances out of 10, you walk down their hallways, you're not going to get the hello, good morning, how are you?
They're a snarl.
Or know you by name.
Oh, yeah. Well,
that's what's these little rural hospitals and taking care of people and being able to provide the services. Now, again, you're not going to get every service that the BJCs, the Mobabs, these other hospitals.
Barnes Jewish, I don't think you're going to get those services here.
Right. But the services that we can provide, that you don't have to travel to go and waste your money driving there
and time
to get the same quality service, ancillary service you can get here. That's a great thing that we can provide to our community.
And in some instances, Jason, ours is actually better than theirs.
Absolutely. The newest equipment in our imaging lab, the cardiopulmonary, being able to do PFTs. I mean, all that. Those services in our family medicine clinic, all the providers that we have are great providers to serve and take care of people, to be able to do everything on site. It's phenomenal. I mean, sorry, I get passionate. I get passionate about my
But they
hospital.
also are smart enough to know and recognize when they can't do it on site to get you to a location that can do that.
Right, and to knowing, those boundaries, and knowing at this point, we've done what we can. We see this. It's time. We need to send you here.
Yeah.
And to be able to have that option, it's a great thing for the community.
All right. Well, let's talk about this administrator's report. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Well, unbelievable because another old face came back.
Good
to see Doug back. And when I saw him at the Sunday special meeting, I'm like, wow, where'd they find you at?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was pleased to see Doug come back. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy. He has been, he's our new CFO, which our new old CFO. He was previously here. He had left for a little while. His
wife got sick.
His wife got sick, had some health issues. She is doing great.
That's
doing
fantastic.
better. Yes, yes. So he reached back out. We reached out to him, and we were able to get him back. Years and years, 30 plus years of experience in the accounting, and he's just an asset, and I'm glad to have him back.
Yeah, and a funny guy. He's fun. You know, a lot of usually CFO people are pretty straight laced and all business.
Right, right.
Well, Doug's all business, but he likes to have a good smile and laugh.
Yeah.
And when I walked in there, he goes, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And I saw him laugh. I thought, "Gee, Doug, it's good to have you back."
Right.
I didn't know if he was just visiting or what, because you never know.
Right, right.
And just because they show up at a meeting doesn't mean that they're not part of the family. But then
Right.
officially, I guess Monday was his first official day.
Correct.
Very good. Well, we welcome Doug back. He is truly going to be an asset to our hospital. Delta Regional Community Health Systems Development Program. Is this part of the Delta Regional grant?
Yes,
Okay,
that is
that
correct.
you guys are part of? All right, so they're doing their revenue cycle and physician practice assessments. This is not a small task, is it?
No. So, with everything that is, I guess you could say, transpired and what we've built, because that's a growing with our revenue cycle. It's not just, bills in, bills out, and money in, money. It's that it is a complete, huge process, and that is something that it starts off from just registration. That is your first point. Pre-registration is your first point. Going all the way back out to whenever the money comes in the door. It's a huge cycle. So the Delta region actually has a part of their grant program that they can do a deep data assessment dive into the financials and revenue cycle to where we can improve processes. They can help us with areas to where, okay, you need to build this part of your revenue cycle. And if it means increasing staff jobs to utilize and do better and processes to where these holes don't fall out, to where we can lower our days in AR. That's the ultimate goal for that. So to be able to utilize that grant program for what it's worth, and Delta Region they were excited about it. It's like, oh, this is what the program's all about.
Sure.
So for us to reach out to them and say, we would really like this to help us with our processes to grow, to build it in-house for our revenue cycle is phenomenal, And and Forvis will be on site to help with that, which is our auditing firm.
Right. Some people remember BKD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
For a
they
long,
changed the name.
long time. Yeah. Forvis.
Yep.
I don't know where they got Forvis. It has to have some meeting, I'm sure.
It's a
Well,
really different name.
Yeah, but speaking of Forvis, though, they will be at the hospital beginning September 25th for the annual audit.
It is. That's the schedule.
And then they'll be on site off and on when they find things they need to come back.
Yep.
If they need to verify some stuff, they're in and out of the hospital, and then that will probably be presented usually at the November meeting, I would think.
Yeah. If there's any hiccups in information that they need, or if there's, any thing that we're going to have to come up with that we can't get at this time because of the transition, it may be pushed off a little bit longer, but that's ultimately up to Forvis and our auditors.
Absolutely.
So we work together with them pretty closely to get that accomplished.
Very good. Okay, the Healthcare Services Corp recertification. You got a little time.
Got a little
It is
time.
due in December.
Due in December, but the balls are rolling on that, so we're working on that certification. It should be ready to roll.
Hospital Week. It's coming up in 2.5 weeks?
It is, and we're excited about that because you know me, I'm kind of a fun guy. I like to have a good time.
Well, you do.
Because if you don't enjoy what you do,
Why do it?
why do it? So if you go to work and you have fun and you love what you do, it's not work. I hear that all the time, and I live by that. So now work does get stressful. I mean, it always does. I mean, especially when you're thrown into certain situations. But you work through those and you build through it. But you can't lose the joy in what you're doing, the joy in taking care of people. And I think coming together as a whole in this hospital, family taking care of family. We don't want to lose that joy. So when it comes to hospital week and our anniversary week, having fun and games and doing things, being together and laughter, and knowing the ultimate goal is we're going to be fine and taking care of people. And that's why I enjoy doing these things. And I like to look more about not just anniversary. What are we going to do in the future? Let's get together as a whole, as a staff,
Sure.
banquets to where we can have the camaraderie and the fellowship to know that we're going to be just fine and take care of family and take care of our people.
And knowing that your people have your back and you have theirs.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's the key.
Exactly.
You know, when they can trust you and you can trust them, everything is good.
Absolutely.
Very good. Security badge reader software upgrade.
Yep, we recently had that installed. We were due for an upgrade, so we had a few to wear our badges, and that's a security issue. We have to make, and that's just a no-brainer. You have to make sure that's fixed. We've had, and we've had that completely reinstalled and good to go.
Very good. All right. There was a moment taken kind of silence for Dennis Skiles, who
Yes.
passed away Tuesday morning before the board meeting. And Dennis had a long-time hospital employee. I don't know how long he worked at the hospital. I know he used to pick up all the days and stuff here. And
Long
I
time.
always seen him back there in materials management for years and years and years back. Man, when I used to go back there and get the ads and stuff. And
Yeah. He was,
but
he
it
was,
was sudden and unexpected, and our condolences to the entire Skiles families.
yeah. Dennis was. This goes back for a long. This kind of gives my history. So when I was a kid, my mom candy striped there in the hospital in '71. The hospital was erected in the '70s. So, and she, retired from there. And my wife actually candy striped at the hospital. So I grew up in that there. So it's like my home from home.
Mm-hmm.
But when I remember as a kid growing up and being out in the hospital, I used to see Dennis, and I always called him Dr. Skiles.
I bet he loved that.
And he and I had just a special relationship. I mean, I've been there 20 years as an employee, and those 20 years we just had we would always cut up together, and that I took that pretty hard.
Yeah.
Because he was a good friend.
Yeah.
Good friend.
And it was nice of the board to actually take that moment and recognize him for
Yeah.
his services to the
Yeah.
hospital. All right, let's talk a little bit about the summary of operations. It's July. This is not the busiest time for the hospital.
Right.
And this was even brought up at the last meeting for the June stats that was done on August 1st by RHG. Surprising that they actually had a positive cash flow for operations in June. Normally that
Right.
doesn't happen.
Right.
But it was. And there was some sickness that in June. There was
Right.
actually some flu that went around
Right.
in June.
Right.
Kind of crazy.
Right.
But hey, you never know. You always got to be aware. But inpatient admissions 97, people say, well, that's very low. It's only 76 last year.
Right.
So you think about that. 5 swing beds, that did seem a little bit low. And we want to remind people, if you have surgery elsewhere, you can come back to Salem Hospital and
Absolutely.
do your swing bed here.
Absolutely.
You don't have to stay in that hospital for that service after the surgery. Once you're ready to go and you just need attention, you can come back to Salem, be close to your family. You can get that. You can be brought back here.
Those services are provided here, and there is a process to go through and make sure that every situation is we can fully take care of the patient.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but just having that knowledge and knowing of we do everything as we want to be able to take care of our own. There's no reason that if we can take care of an individual that's from this community, why would we want their family to have to travel long distances when they can stay
2 hours
here?
up, 2 hours back, 4
Yeah.
hours just to say hi.
Yes. So just be aware that we want to take care of people.
Very good. So the inpatient census day is about 296, just a little bit less than last year. But last year's July had 16 swing beds, and that usually kicks your census days up because people are there anywhere from 5 days to 2 weeks
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah. It all depends on the situation
All
and what
depends on the
illness or
situation.
acuity that they're dealing with. Yeah.
So you had 10 acute care patients per day, which is exactly the same amount as last year. Average length of stay is 4 days, and the average length of stay in a swing bed is 15. That's what we talked about, those 2 weeks. So,
Kind of depends on the situation, physical therapy, occupational therapy in the
absolutely.
situation. Yeah.
And if you need that, you can contact Salem Hospital and ask them to check in on it if
Absolutely.
you have a loved one, and they can make that phone call and find out if you would like to have them move back here.
Yep. And we can get the balls rolling.
And I'll tell you, my dad's been gone now over 3 years, but if I would have known that when he had to have his recovery, he'd have been down here.
Yep. I appreciate that.
Because I didn't even know until Lisa Delaney finally said, because the hospital wouldn't give you that option. They said, well, they can go here, or they can go here, or they can go here. That's it.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell me that I could send them to my hospital.
Exactly.
And they
that's
knew I was coming from 2 hours away.
Right. And I think that has a lot to do with, maybe the facility that these individuals are at. They may not realize that we have a small critical access hospital right here that provides that service. Mm-hmm. If they don't know that, they won't know to send us there. They may have a list of different places that they want to use, but if our community says, no, I would like to go, I would like for you to reach out to Salem Hospital and see if this can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all you have to ask.
Yep.
And they have to do that, by the way. I found that out. And the last time actually was before he actually passed, which if he'd have recovered again, he was coming down here. I told him, I said, you're going to live with us and you're going to go there.
Yeah.
And he was good with that. So unfortunately, he just didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
But outpatient registrations, 1,309, more than last year. Cardiopulmonary down, but there's been some numbers on cardiopulmonary for the last couple of months.
Right. Those
been
with the
off a
cardio.
little bit.
Yeah, with our, we're working on trying to get our PFTs up and running, our pulmonologists.
Mm-hmm.
We had a pulmonologist that was retired. So there's always paperwork and that, and there's a lull period. We're right to where we're about ready to get those started again. So we just got to get that finalized and get people taken care of with their PFTs.
Lab tests,
and that's going to be where with those cardiopulmonary procedures are a lot of those.
Lab tests getting back up to normal or above normal levels, so that's good.
Yep. There'll be a little bit of contract service, little health fairs and stuff in those numbers, so that's might be where they're peaking up a little bit. But
well, I know you guys did some work with Doe Run in the month of July, so I'm sure that helps out. Radiological procedures, exactly the same as last year. Bobby and them do a great job. I mean, fantastic job.
Great imaging.
Then surgical procedures was brought up at the meeting that I think a couple of the doctors actually were on vacation for a week or so during the month of July, so they were down at 24. A little bit lower than normal, but not too far off the norm.
Right.
Close enough.
Getting close.
And then home health visits, they were up to 11 with 24 home health admissions. And long-term care residents, still 16. You need 2 women?
Yep. We're looking at, I believe, filling those beds here shortly, maybe the next week.
Okay, very good. So, and they just underwent their state survey.
Little state survey, and we've been just tickled. They did a phenomenal job. I mean, like you said, they're going to find a few things here and there, nothing significant. So all the people that were involved in that, I'm just super proud of. Again, that's family taking care of family, and I'm super proud of them.
I just can't help but remember a few years back, and this goes back a few years, so I'll say Carol Lacey when she was there, when they came in and did an inspection, and they didn't have one corner of a bed tucked. That's all they could find. And so they wrote them up for one corner of a sheet not being tucked.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I went,
remember that one.
What? and they got to find something.
Yeah.
They got to justify why they're there.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, I was in the restaurant business, okay? Our family had a restaurant. And every time the county would send in somebody to do an inspection, you never got 100. I don't care if you're perfect.
Yeah.
You could have the cleanest kitchen in the world. They're going to find one thing.
Yeah.
So you get a 98 or 99 or 97. You're still way over the grade A level, which is like 80. So, 80 is not real good, but you'll still get a grade A from the county.
Right.
But they got to find something. Just got to.
Yeah.
But I thought, pulling a sheet out? Come on, seriously? I mean, they didn't pull it out. It was just not tucked to their satisfaction. I remember, I just still remember her face when she was explaining that. I just, what? That's a problem?
And we, in the healthcare field, we would be like, I'll take that one. Just if that's all you find, we're doing good.
Tell you what, we'll take care of that now.
Now, absolutely.
That'll be done. All right, emergency room visits, pretty stable. And they have been the 600s 620 to 680 range, pretty much over the last year and a half.
Right.
And I think a lot of the Saturday open, you can walk-in clinic has helped keep that number stable.
Right, and that in that walk-in clinic being fairly new. I mean, several months we've been dealing with, but what a phenomenal service that family medicine can provide. That that you can on a weekend. I know, and everybody's busy through the week, and I know sickness happens when sickness happens, but to be able to walk into the clinic even on a Saturday is just to be able to offer that service for our community. Is, I mean, I like that, and they're doing a phenomenal job.
And they are.
Yeah.
And it's a great service, truly is. Okay, so we had 112 patients brought to the emergency room. 58 were admitted. Those patients are sick, and 31 were transferred. And of course, every board meeting now they get the list of why some of those patients were transferred. And the one I was shocked at, a 2-year-old with a copperhead bite.
Yeah, and that
because there's certain things you can't do with an infant when they get bit by a snake, right? There's certain drugs you can't really give them.
Can or can't use, and that's more of a little bit past my scope as a dietitian, but that'd be more of a pharmacy.
Yeah, but I remember they brought something up at the meeting, and did they treat him with that? They said they can't treat him with that, which is your normal treatment of a copperhead bite. They had to send him off immediately to Children's Hospital, I believe what it was, but that's okay.
Yep.
And that's the idea. Bring him in, get this, and at least. And it's about the snake bites. Know what kind of snake it is that bit you. Of course, a 2-year-old's not going to know.
Right.
Mom or dad or somebody had to recognize that snake. But if you know it's something that is poisonous, you definitely have to worry about that. But you can be allergic to any snake bite.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and that just bring it up to thinking about the hospital. And I've said this before, thinking about Salem Hospital being where it's at today. If something ever happened to a loved one, my loved one, the closest health care of an emergency, 30, 35 minutes away, something happened to my child, and not to be able to have the service that we have here to get them where they need to go or take care of them or stabilize them to get them to Children's, things like that just make me think this hospital is much needed in this community. That's why we're ultimately here, and we're going to take care of people.
And when you start looking at a couple of these, and when I looked at this the other day, I saw a couple of acute appendicitis. Normally, you hear about that for a couple of months, 3 months, and 2 in 1 month.
Yeah. You just never know what you're going to get.
You just don't, so we don't do appendicitis surgery here, so
to be able to stabilize them and get them there,
but that can stabilize them and get that pressure off them.
Exactly, that can be a pretty serious thing if not handled pretty quickly.
Yeah, you don't want that appendix bursting. That causes a lot of blood poisoning and not in a good way. All right, very good. We'll run through the financials here somewhat fairly quick. Cash on hand, as we talk about, and a lot of people hear about it all the time, actually went up from 34 to 37 days. So when you look at the cash number, somebody say, well, it looks like it's down. Well, from last year, it is down, but it's still higher than it was last month.
Right.
So, and I was wondering why we didn't have the previous month in there. I know previous year, but it used to have previous month. But still, that's good. So you know that the cash and your net accounts receivable are up there right around $7 million. That's not too bad for the hospital.
Right.
And they're going to come away with that. The investments are good, especially in your building and structure. Yeah, there needs to be some repair work done.
Absolutely.
And they're working toward that. But a lot of work has been done. Look at the new transformer. Look at the new water intake valve. I think it had to be done there. A lot of repairs have been made to that hospital.
Old buildings. So, I mean, those things are going to happen. So those kind of capital things need to occur, building improvements, and we'll get those done.
Very good. But overall, a solid balance sheet. Income statement did show a loss from operation. If I'm going too fast,
no, you're good.
You slow me down.
I'm getting my vision is starting to get. I'm starting to act my age.
Oh yeah, because it's really fine print on here.
Yeah.
It's not like it's up on the board that you can see it projected.
I
know. Yeah, I know the feeling. $225,000 loss from operations. This is not unexpected. This is normal for the month of July. June, July, and August usually are loss months.
Well, if you think you don't really see as many patients coming through the hospital. It's just historically through
Sure.
those months. And they call them the lull months, I guess
Sure.
you could say, or better, just because it's not, people are out and about. You don't see the flus, the influenzas, the different conditions to where, people are coming to the hospital more, and those are just seasonal kind of stuff. So that's kind of what you're seeing.
And with all this heat, Jason, there have been a few heat cases that have come out to the hospital. I hate to even hear about that, but heat exhaustion is one thing. Heat stroke is nothing to play with.
Yes.
And that's why I try and tell people, drink plenty of fluids ahead of time. And then wear loose, light-fitting, light-colored clothing. Wear a hat. Take a cool towel, put it on your neck, put it underneath your armpits or on your forehead. Don't put an ice pack on your heart or a compression thing on your heart. Not a good idea.
Yep.
If you're about 104 degrees, that could do some major damage to your heart.
It's better off to just, if you can stay out of that heat as much as possible, stay in the air, or if you're going to need to get some work done, try to do it at the cooler part of the day.
Early part of the day.
Yeah, and always dehydration can sneak up on you in a second. So, and it takes days to fully dehydrate yourself. So you got to continuously do it. And if you're out working in that over 100-degree weather, you would not believe the amount of water just coming off of you that you have to constantly replenish, and that takes days to do. So you have to be diligent to continue to drink and stay hydrated.
I know I cut that grass before all the heat warnings came in that Friday. I was absolutely soaking drenched.
Yep.
Just doing 1 yard, and I went back to another one. I had to take that shirt off, put on another, and it was totally soaking.
Yeah.
Totally soaked through. So, yeah, you can lose a lot of weight, but it's water weight, and it needs to be put back.
Yep, absolutely. And it'll lose fast.
Yeah. As we mentioned, $225,000 loss, $207,000 excess of expenses over revenues after taxes. Again, that's not unexpected, so it's good. Some of the expenses were down. Some of them had kind of funny numbers with negatives on the expenses, but some of that's reimbursements.
Right. So, I mean,
or overpayments.
Right. And that's,
others.
that may be something to where we had an invoice that we paid and we just overpaid, so they reimbursed us for those.
Or paid twice in this
Yes.
transition.
Yes. And that's what happens when you go through a transition. And then we're back onto the physician clinic. Yep, looks like it did pretty well.
It did well.
Yep.
Only a $10,000 loss for the month, which is nothing. That's
Yep.
where and clinics historically don't make a lot of money.
Right.
If they make money at all.
Yep.
But they're there to get to say, okay, you go in for a physical. Hospital's not making money on a physical. But that's not what they're there for. So if your physical's good and everything else. So if you're going to get labs there, but they find something that's unusual in those labs.
Right.
Or if they're doing your physical and you complain about double vision, you complain about dizziness, okay, that's a different thing.
Right.
They send you to the hospital for those tests. And so the clinic, it's not like the hospital feeds the money back to the clinic for those tests. The tests are done at the hospital. So
Right.
the hospital will see that referral from the clinic, and that's why the hospital clinic is so important.
Right.
You want to get those tests done for two reasons. Number one, it's immediate, it's right there. Number two, and number two, it's going to be cheaper than anywhere else.
Right. And that's the ultimate goal is with our providers, they're there to see the patient, which they're part of the Salem Hospital team. They are the family. We are all the family. So that all reflects on the hospital. You don't see those numbers of what coming in from the
Right.
family medicine clinic, and that's the ultimate. Yeah, but I mean, their growth has been quite good. So
Yeah. So and I say $10,000 loss. That's really nothing when you consider all the different things that have to be put into the clinic.
Yeah.
You got to totally staff it. You got to totally supply it. You've got expenses on utilities, different things and stuff. And then when you open on Saturdays, that increased a little bit of that because obviously more people there, etc.
Right.
So basically it's a commitment to the community, just like you were talking about earlier.
Right. And to be able to provide that service. Services not only, they can't always be positive, as far as the positive to where it's always going to make money. but sometimes it's a service to be able to provide for the community for the greater good.
Well, there you go.
So, and ultimately, that's what we're here for. Again, it is a business, and we're nonprofit, but we have to provide services for the community because that's the ultimate goal we're here for.
And without the community, we don't have a hospital. Without
Right.
a hospital, we don't have a community.
Yeah. I like the way you just said that.
It's true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
True. Very good. There's a weekly summary that I guess Wayne started this back about a year ago when he first took over. Getting a weekly report of the income and expenses each week. It's interesting to look at because it kind of like one week you're saying, yeah, we did great, and the next week it's like, no, we didn't do so good.
Yeah.
Well, payroll's every 2 weeks.
Right.
So the payroll, when it comes up, obviously the hospital's going to look like they're taking a hit.
Right.
And
And that's what you're seeing.
Sure. And then the previous week, it's got a big plus number. So
Yeah.
you sit there and go, man, we're doing great. Well, you still got to pay people.
Yeah. So that's why every 2 weeks you're seeing an up and down with those, a positive, negative. So you can put cash flow back, and then you do your payroll, and it'll go down. But really, if you start chipping away at the AP, like we have been doing, the accounts payable, and paying the bills, and, gradually you're going to see that number increase. It just takes time. Rome wasn't built in a day. So you gradually start seeing those improvements, and hopefully to where we start getting those negatives out.
Right.
To where that's the ultimate goal.
Right. But it's still and that's why I say I like to look at monthly comparisons back to back because some months by themselves might be a 5 payroll month. Well, really hard to make money in a 5 payroll month. So when you look at that, sometimes you have to say, okay, is that a 5 payroll month? You might show a loss of $225,000. Well, if you didn't have that third payroll, you probably would have made $200,000.
Correct.
It's a big swing.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's deceiving. It's just part of accounting. It's a timing thing.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yep.
But anyway, that week, I always like that weekly report though because just like you're saying, though, you see where the income's coming in, you see the levels, you see where it may have fallen off. Like we had 1 week, home health didn't have any income come in. They're like, wow, well, that's crazy. How did that happen? And maybe it all came in on a Saturday and didn't get posted till a Monday.
Right. Yeah, and that's all. But if it's missed in one week, it's accounted for in the
Sure.
next. Yeah.
So, but I'm saying it just looks funny when you see a blank.
Yeah.
Nothing there.
Yeah. Makes it questions arise.
Well, I would actually question: did we not get in a dime that whole week?
Well,
You know,
and I would say is what you said is
Yeah.
it did maybe not get posted and went to the next.
just
week.
didn't get posted in time. It may have come in Friday at 1:00, and it got put in you have to go through every process.
Right.
So to get it into the system, well, if it got in, and sometimes, who knows when the mail's going to arrive anymore.
Right. Well, and transition does do some of that stuff.
It does. It does, but the mail does that sometimes too.
Yeah.
Trust me. Yeah, it's in the mail. Well, you can really use that for an excuse.
I've never heard that
anymore.
before. Checks in the mail.
Yeah, bills in the mail. They find their way there all the time.
Awfully quick.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Or if they just don't show up, then you get the nasty notice.
Yep.
That's it. Why didn't you pay your bill? I didn't get one. Well, we sent it. I sent the check.
To who?
I sent the check. No, you didn't. Well, I'm telling you, you didn't send me one. Very good. Let's go over a little bit about the 340B revenue expense report. Good report for the month of July. $50,000 over revenues over expenses. And that's always good to see. And that's a great program for the hospital.
Right, absolutely. And we're going to continue to do a deep dive into that and look and see where we can continue to capitalize on that and do even more with it. So there'll be more to come with 340B.
Okay, very
Yep.
good. Ashley Sullins gave the chief nursing officer a report. There is a need for a home health full-time director and dialysis director. The girl who was doing dialysis is elected not to be the director anymore. She just wants to work in dialysis, which is great.
Yep.
That's fantastic. But so they do need a director. And there's some other full-time openings there as well.
We do have some full-time, in nursing, and then that's around
everybody
nationwide with nursing
needs
staff.
nurses.
But no, to be able to, and that's not just nursing areas. We have some positions out there at the hospital, and we would love to be able to have and staff those, and we're looking for the right people to be part of this family. So, I mean, if anybody's out there and interested, just holler. Yeah, we'd be more than willing to talk to you.
Come on in and
Yeah,
be
you
a
bet.
part of the family. That's really what it's all going to be a real. It's an education when you have organization that works that way.
Yep.
You know, how many times have you seen organizations that are totally separate? They are individual entities that combine for a balance sheet or an income statement, but each individual piece does their own thing, but none of them know what the other person's going through. None of them has any idea what it's like to be on that side of the, could be the wall or it could be the cubicle or whatever they have. Jason, we all know that, when you, obviously as a dietitian, but then you were a chance to be assistant administrator for a while. You got to see some of those doors open up that I'm sure were kind of surprising to you. Like, I didn't even know that existed.
Right. Exactly. So, and that's what we want to get more of, just getting back to that, family atmosphere. Getting back to it's. And I keep saying family taking care of family, and that's what it's all about to me. And whenever you got family taking care of family, healthcare can't go wrong.
Being treated the way you would like to be treated.
Exactly.
How you would want to be treated. And and everybody should know, when you go to the hospital and you're not feeling your best, it won't matter what they do. You're not feeling good. Maybe you're writhing in pain. They can't get that pain stopped fast enough.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling this for a fact. I mean, I've kind of gone through some of this, and it's always going to be the doctor's fault or the nurse's fault. And they've gone through this enough. They understand that. But just remember, when you get there, they're going to do their best they can to treat you as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
But, even if they give you some painkiller, it may take a while for the painkiller to take effect.
Right.
You just, the more you relax, the better off it's going to be for everybody.
And there's always.
It's hard to do when you're in pain, though.
You always hear the negatives. You never really. The positives never always seem to come out. And I know that there's so many positives, so many that completely outweigh any negative that you would see. So, it taking care of those standards of care, they have processes they have to do,
Sure.
and so.
It's just like students in school. The bad students get all the attention, and the good students, you got 200 students, 5 of them can get your attention. 5. 195 that do their job, turn in their homework, participate in sports, they're in clubs and do everything else, and they're not getting any recognition. But those 5 that are out there busting headlights, breaking fences, doing whatever it might be, they're getting all the attention. And the first thing you know is they say they got a problem with students at the school.
Yeah. It's all.
It's
lumped
5.
up. Yeah.
Take the 5 away, and you don't have that problem. But you can't do that. You just they're there. They're part of the community. You just got to try and change them and understand.
Yep.
You need to fit in. You don't need to hurt somebody to get attention, unless it's football field. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
like-
This ain't a contact. No contact
yeah,
sports.
no. Yeah, okay. All right, human resource update. Back in July, we had 5 full-time employees, 1 part-time and 4 PNRs come on, and 5 full-time employees and 1 PRN late.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of those have probably,
It's
we
wash.
got some still that we're filling, so, yeah.
It's a wash. SMH Foundation had some changes made. You want to go through those?
Yep, sure. The foundation, I mean, they had a meeting on August 16th, and they established a Dance with the Salem Stars Committee. So they're going to be working forward with that and getting those things
February
established.
24th, what I heard. Is that correct?
Let me double check on the date on that. But I don't want to say yes, that's what it was. But I know that was being scheduled and set in stone. We did accept the resignation of Drew Howard, and the nominating committee contacted individuals interested in the foundation, so they're working on that. Conrad Prue was elected treasurer, so
Because Drew was treasurer, was she not?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then there was a vote to do some things with the checking account, pull some people off,
Right.
and then put some people on. And
So Wayne had to come off, Drew
Yes.
had to come off, and then Joanne Hammond was still on there,
Yes.
who was the CFO before.
previously,
So
yes.
she had to come off there, and then you
Yep.
and Conrad got added
Yep,
to it.
got added on to that, and there was a motion to transfer that $10,000 to the Community Foundation of the Ozarks, which is where the foundation has an account. So,
Very good.
and so that was taken care of, and the next meeting for the foundation was scheduled for October 4th.
Very good. All right. Well, we're doing some marketing and community relations right now.
That's right. So that'll be on it next month.
So, and you have scheduled people all the time, and
Yep.
and as we always try to tell people, we always like to have everybody from the hospital come in and be able to say their piece, and I hope it informs people about some of those departments that they may not know that much about.
Right.
That hopefully we're asking the right questions that can delve into it, and there's only so much they can release, obviously, but at the same time, maybe get them more acquainted with what's out there at the hospital,
Right.
or a little bit more comfortable. Sometimes, though, we know that you never know what's going to happen at a hospital. They may
Right.
get busy. Somebody may get sick, can't show up. Somebody has to cover for somebody else. So occasionally we don't have somebody here. Matter of fact, somebody had surgery, I think, the time they were supposed to be here.
And it's
Yeah.
the staffing. Staffing takes a huge. I mean, if a director was supposed to be scheduled for a spotlight, and they have to fill in, I mean, they might not know until that morning.
Yeah.
So it makes it real difficult. But the ultimate goal is to get that information out to let you know what services we do provide, and if the public doesn't know what we can do, they're not going to be utilizing
Right.
us. So I mean, that's why we have to get that information.
Absolutely.
That's what all community perception is all about.
There you go, buddy.
Yep.
We do our best to help you out.
You bet.
All right,
We appreciate the support.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. The state of Missouri has got a $1 million matching grant for the hospital, which was talked about last time. Still looking for the way to raise those funds to find out. Another been a USDA consultation there, and it's still working in that direction. So very good. That money there's a lot of different things that need to be used. That if you get a matching grant, you get $2 million, and people say, "Well, that's a lot of money."
A lot of updates.
I guess they have never priced a new roof for the hospital, and I guess they've never priced asphalt for the entire campus at Salem Hospital. That will be a major, just those two be a major expense. Plus, you got the kitchen drain issue that still has to be rectified.
And most people can to attest to this, that things aren't getting cheaper around the board. So when you look at not even just construction costs or these types of things being done, it's constantly going high. So, and to begin with, those things aren't cheap.
Right.
Because it takes a lot, and it's not just, fixing a drain. This is you're talking digging up a floor and excavating. You're shutting down services. So you can't shut down services to a hospital. So how do we fix that? I mean, if you're taking out the kitchen, you have to find ways to feed your patients and do it properly. So, those are all encompassed into that price too. So if it's like, not better case than words, a portable kitchen, but being able to have an approved certified kitchen to be able to provide the food for our patients just like they were getting before, all that's encompassed into that.
Right.
So
Which is inspected by the county, by the way.
Yes.
So it has to pass inspection.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that'll be that's going to be an interesting, when the money is raised to get that ready to be done. That's going to be very interesting in how they do that.
Yep.
That's
it's going to be a process, but I mean, the balls are rolling on that to be able to get that to where we can get the match moving forward.
Well, we tried to help out with one option, but it didn't pan out from what I was told. I hate to hear that, but always we'll look for other ones.
Yep, we're going to keep mowing forward.
Strategic planning update.
Yeah, we worked with RHG. There was a strategic plan set, and just getting that from there goes back to the transition. Is just getting that information to where we can move forward with our strategic plan. Always going to have a strategic plan every continual growth with the hospital. So we're going to continue to plan forward and work with that and build more and go further. Once we get those accomplished, we'll just keep going.
Sounds good. Very good. Capital budget update. I know when you talked about it, I know when you first came on and I talked with Ray, he said, and I saw you at one of the meetings, you said, quote unquote, you're meeting with all the directors.
Yes.
And you're going to get all of their input. And I think, that's just the way it's supposed to be done.
Right.
You get their wish list, if nothing else, and then say, okay, what can we afford to do? But
Exactly.
you can only prepare a capital budget if you know what people need.
Right. There are so many things, when it comes to equipment, when you're taking care of patients, technology only lasts so long, or it's only serviced for so long. It can only be used for so long. So let's say if it's a piece of equipment that only lasts for 5 years, you don't plan that out. If you don't know if this piece of equipment for $5,000 is going to come up, and all of a sudden, bang, it's out. You don't have it. If you don't plan for that expense, that's $5,000 that you didn't equate for in your current budget.
Oh, sure.
So those are hiccups we're trying to prevent when we're looking at a full 7 years out of what to plan out of. Okay, we think this might depreciate by this year, so we need to look for it and plan on it this year. That's the ultimate goal. And it takes every director, every employee to know what that plan is. It doesn't just say, okay, this is what we're going to look at. No, you have to plan everybody. Everybody has to be in the loop.
Well, one of the things hospital has done in the past, and you're very well aware of this, is done capital leases. So a lot of instead of buying a piece of equipment for $2 million and then depreciating it over 10 years, you've gone through a capital lease where you pay a monthly fee, and knowing it has a finite life, and at the end of it, you can buy it if you want. It's always going to be a lease purchase, or you turn it back in, and they usually give you some credit on it.
Correct.
So you can update to get the newest one. Also, since you don't own it, if something goes down with it, it needs to be replaced. Doesn't mean in your lease it's not a net lease, which means you'd have to renegotiate a lease for a new one. But at least you're not burdened to try and go find one tomorrow.
Right.
With no help, because these people have the lease. You can't use it, you're not going to pay for it.
Right. And that's, and you kind of said it, like, if it's that capital lease, the service plans that they have on the warranties, that if there's some issue, if it's within that's going to be taken care of.
Right.
So, and then once it's out of that, that's where we plan for the next,
Sure.
So if that service capital lease goes out on year 5, we got to plan on year 6 where we headed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Once usually you have a problem with a piece of equipment, it's going to have more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So maybe they had initially said 7 years. Well, all of a sudden that strategic planning update in your capital budgets may change a little bit based upon age of equipment. And we're just being like any other business. This is no different than buying a Caterpillar for your road department, brand new. Man, this is great. The greatest thing since sliced bread. 5 years down the road, man, that thing is creaking and cracking and barely able to get going, and you got a problem with it, but you own it. What do you do with it? Can't sell it for anything, and then you're not even near the cost of a new one when you do. That's the issue, and that's why these capital budgets are so important. You need to know, okay, we need to plan for this. Start putting money aside. Well, you can call it I can't always call it an equipment slush fund. Some people, that was when I had the real estate company. We had different things that we needed, like for new trucks and things of that nature. We put about $350 a month aside for a new truck. Well, new trucks back in the day I was doing it were like $11,000. Not anymore, but back then. But $350 a month put aside back to that, okay. It's not going to happen in 2 or 3 months, but if we have 10 months that year, that's $3,500, okay, that we can put money in. And 12 months the next year, you're adding almost $4,000. Now you got $7,500. Yeah, the truck might have gone up to $13,000, but I'm not going to get hit with a $13,000 bill. I'm going to get hit with a $6,000 bill.
Right.
And
it's
that's
just
what
planning.
You do.
Planning. You have to forecast for the future.
And you hope it works that way.
Yes.
And
There's always hiccups.
There are always hiccups. Always hiccups. Very good. All right. So anyway, you're working on that, and you kind of hinted that you probably have that at the next meeting. You're getting all the information, putting it all together. But then you got to compile all the information and then kind of go through and see what priorities they are. Correct?
Right. Correct. Yeah. You got to figure out what for this coming fiscal year's capital, and then every year after. And I believe that's what the board wanted to see, because we've done that historically. So we're going to put that in the spreadsheet so they can see exactly what we're planning for the future.
So when you get all the information together, now you have a full finance committee. Are you going to meet with them and kind of go over that?
Yeah, we'll go over that with the finance committee, and so that way we can take it to the board for ultimate approval.
Very good.
Yep.
All right, COVID vaccination policy. The hospital has one. It's just kind of been put in limbo for the moment.
Right.
But the board did not want to get rid of that policy.
Correct.
And retire it, because there still is COVID out there.
There is, and that's ultimately, and I think the wishes of the board is to they're looking out for the best interest of the community.
Sure,
So,
absolutely.
and that's what, as the board, that's what we do. And that's why they ultimately, at least for this year, they elected not to get rid of that policy at this time.
But they do recognize that revisions need to be made.
Yes, correct.
So I believe Angela's going to come back with some revisions on that for the next meeting, possibly the one after that if she can't get everything done. But so that that's
in the works. Yep.
That's in the works. Very good. So at the next meeting, we may hear about another COVID policy.
Yeah.
Let's go to new business. Well, speaking of the full finance committee,
Yep.
got two new board members, by the way,
appointments.
that came on board last Sunday. And, well, you guys put them to work.
Oh yeah, we got to get them looking at the finance.
Well, you really
First
do.
off is going to be that.
Well, you really do need to let them look at it, but they need to get vested into the board as well. And so both Zach and Leanne actually volunteered to be on the finance committee.
Right. Yep. And Zach has a good background in finance, and being pharmaceutical. But I mean, he's worked with cost schedules and understand the looks and the numbers in the healthcare portion. And Leanne is just a wealth of knowledge, and so they were to be part of that team. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah,
it should be. It's good for the future of what we're looking forward to.
And Doug plans on being part of that as
absolutely.
well. And I think Dalen was asked to be in those meetings as well. And any input when you go to a budget meeting, it is always welcome.
It always goes back: one team, one fight, one family.
There you go. I've heard that. Where did I hear that? All right. Also, talking about some checking accounts with the foundation, some different signature cards had to be prepared, obviously, because of the transition.
Right. Yeah. So the names, we had some names come off and some names go on just from the transition. And so we had to just make sure to get that on the books.
Very good.
Yep.
You went into closed session. Any votes that can be released?
No, not that I know of.
Okay. Well, if you didn't make any decisions in
No,
closed session,
no.
Just talk and.
Oh,
you can always discuss things, but if you vote on something like give somebody a scholarship or something.
Oh yeah, no. Not to my knowledge, not that I know.
Well, not to your knowledge. If you were there, you would remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The only other the things were previous closed session meetings. That's the only thing that I was aware of.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So they're just getting you up to date.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, well, it is a bunch of new board members, so that's not easy to go in there and make a decision on your first time in there.
Right.
You really don't have any history of it, and it's not as easy. I think people think, well, we don't know what's going on in closed session. There's a reason.
Right.
It's called closed session because there's decisions being made. If you had a piece of property that a huge department store wanted to buy and you didn't do closed session, and you would put that out there and somebody would say, oh, wow, that's my piece of property, man. I'm going to jack the price up from $200,000 to $200 million.
Right. Right. So, and that's, and I think like the previous with the RHG a billing cycle service agreement, which we put in, that was an open session. So, I mean, but that is an agreement that was discussed and making sure that, because when you're embedded into that process, that was something we have to continue to look forward to on the revenue cycle. Now, there are other things we were looking at as far as what do we plan for the future of the revenue cycle. So, I mean, we want to build that, and so we were looking at other companies to not as a management anything or outsourcing nothing. We are building our revenue cycle, so it's just preparing for the future.
A lot of work.
Oh, you betcha.
A lot of work. There's a lot of work, and I wish you the very, very best. Jason Edwards from the Salem Memorial Hospital, the interim CEO, but I
almost a month.
Oh yeah, 3 weeks, full 3 weeks now, actually.
Yeah, sure it's not a year.
And he's got a sense of humor too, But no, we appreciate you coming and spending some time with us. Our interview brought to you by Inman Insurance, another proud supporter of our Salem Hospital. We thank Keith and his entire staff over there for providing us the opportunity to bring you these interviews and get you up to date. Hope you learned something. I hope you're happy with the direction Jason is going. I think the hospital has a plan.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people just didn't know, Jason. You hear so much scuttlebutt, and one thing I hate about today's technology with social media is so many people have comments or opinions and they have no idea what they're talking about.
Well, and if
You
you
know.
let, and in just letting, like, you always hear the rumor mill.
That's what I mean.
It's
It's
the
all-
rumor mill and the
It
gossip.
used to be coffee shop talk.
Yeah, and it's, and there's no true, there's no true facts behind a lot of those. And it's like just letting the information unfold, and you have no choice. And that's kind of why I think about it. There's a lot of things that have happened in the past recently, and I can't look forward. I can't look forward. I can't look back, because if you look back, you're already 50 steps behind. So I have nothing but forward motion for this hospital. And that's what as a team, as one family, we're going to look forward in building what we've began, okay, from the ground, continue to move forward and be productive just to take care of our people.
I don't know if you and the board have set like specific time goals, like to try and be here, here, and here, that you guys get focused on, because that's a lot of people try and do that. But you know as well as I do, right now there's still a lot of outside forces that are going to chip away at that focus, and that's just going to be normal. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you anybody it wouldn't be a hospital. It could be a hardware store, it has the same things. But to get that focus, to get to those goals, if the hospital board has to plan and they believe in your way of getting to that goal, it might be short-term goals, it could be a long-term goal. I wish you the very best. I hope for our community, and I hope that the community buys into what the plan is. And somebody said, well, what's the plan? Well, I don't know what the plan is, but I'll be honest and tell you, the board has been doing due diligence here since RHG gave them the letter. I mean, our board didn't do that. RHG did that. They gave them the letter that they're no longer going to be with them in 30 days.
Right.
They had to scramble.
Right.
And so you have to put together an idea how you want to get it done. And I'm sure there's some roundtable discussions like, okay, we need to do this. How are we going to get that done? Who's going to get that done? How's that going to be? There's so many variables at that time that you have got to address. And I think the hospital board and yourself and the staff over there have done a very good job of making that transition as smooth as possible to date. And I think it's going to get better.
Yeah. I mean, you're always going to have, and like I said, when you go to an instant transition of, this to this, there's no blending. It makes it difficult. So you have to hit the ground running. That's where the 8-hour days turn into 16-hour days, and making sure
20-hour days are right around the corner.
Oh yeah. That's part of it too.
Yeah, it is.
So you have no choice but you have to set that plan in action. You have to make sure you're going forward.
Right.
Business as usual to take care of people.
And what RHG is part of business. It was just a contract, and they had that out. That was in the contract that was agreed upon back in April, and so. And they use that out, and it's an unfortunate thing, but it may have been time.
Right.
And if they feel it's time, it's time.
Whether time or not,
it was going to happen sooner or later.
We're moving forward.
Right, it's going to happen sooner or later. Buddy, I really appreciate your time coming
you.
in. And Jason Edwards, our interim CEO at the Salem Hospital. And if anybody has any questions, 729-6626. Jason's kind of busy at times now, kind of really surrounding him with a bunch of different people and different things. But if you have a question about something you heard here, you can always go pick up the packet. It's at the hospital. You can actually go get all the numbers you want to. It's available. Stop on by, talk to Hannah. She can get you one. And you can see for yourself just what we talked about here today if you want more details. Or you can go back and listen to us online on our KSMO stream. We've got this on YouTube as well as Twitch as well as Facebook, all three. And so you can find it one way or another. It's there. And, again, we appreciate Jason coming in. We appreciate Emin Insurance for bringing you our interview. Buddy, good luck. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I look forward to our next get-together.
Always a pleasure being with you.
Good to see you, buddy.
You bet.
Take
You
care.
too.
Stick around. Civic Happenings next.
I'm Keith Inman with Inman Insurance. The Inman Agency is a locally owned